Welcome back to the channel. I'm Samuel Richards and this is the home of common sense bodybuilding. Today we're going to be talking some life-saving prep and diet hacks. Look, Fuad might call me a wimp and might exclude me from the hardcore team, but at the end of the day, we can all make our lives that little bit easier, especially for people like myself who aren't paid to do this and who are balancing full-time work and other commitments with bodybuilding. So I'm just going to give you 5 tips which are going to improve your lifestyle while on prep. These range, they're not just based on your diet, and without further ado, let's get into them. Tip number 1 is about getting your steps in. It's a notorious and mandatory part of pretty much any bodybuilder's prep, right? We've got to hit step targets. If you're not on a prep and you're just dieting, LISS activity, so low impact steady state cardio, is vital just for general health, okay? In an off season, in a diet, either way, you should be having step targets. You should be going out for conscious walks to get your heart rate elevated. This is good for a multitude of things, including your blood pressure, resting the heart rate. We're all trying to mitigate those negative side effects of our lifestyle, or if you're an enhanced bodybuilder, obviously the effects of that. At the start of my prep, I planned walks which took about 45 minutes, probably about a couple of miles, and they got about 60 to 70% of my daily steps in. The rest I could fulfill through my general day-to-day activity. What was interesting actually is that I was trying to save money 1 month. Walking to the gym is one of those things I was like, you know what? I've got to get steps in. Why don't I just see how long it takes me to walk to the gym? 35 minutes it takes me. So that's 10 minutes less than my usual daily cardio walk, right? What that's doing is that's only costing me an extra 15 minutes in terms of the time frame from getting the bus or potentially even driving to the gym versus walking. All I'm doing is I'm paying 15 minutes of my time for about 5,000-6,000 steps. I can actually pretty much comfortably hit about 12 to 13,000 steps when my goal is only 10,000 just by doing that every time that I go. Tip number 2 is food substitutes. You knew this was coming, didn't you? Of course. We're not talking like protein, anabolic meals. We're not talking fancy recipes or 5,000-pound cookbooks. Here's looking at you, Greg.
My freaking cookbook!
But we do live in a world where there's a diet alternative to everything from ice cream to crisps or milkshakes. I've been in many situations because my prep is macro based. I do also have a rough meal plan I can follow, but I more take that in terms of the foods that Josh would ideally like me eating. I make sure that I'm eating beef and rice at some point during the day. I'll make sure I'm eating chicken at some point during the day, and make sure I'm eating eggs, for example. But for those of you like me who have got that flexibility, sometimes we're left with some odd macros to fulfill, right? And taste can suffer. At the start of my prep, I was having eggs on toast, and the way that I'd have to do this is poached, because scrambled eggs come out too dry when you don't have anything fatty to add into them, especially when you're using egg whites. And fried eggs is just impossible. You're going to end up with scrambled either way. So I started introducing a little substitute, which I'll touch on down in the kitchen. So I'm going to run you through some of my favourites. These are just the ones that I've actually got in. Obviously, I don't have all of these on hand at any one time, just a few that really fit into what I'm eating at the moment. So let's get into it. So number 1 is going to be protein cheese. Now, my personal picks are the Eat Lean protein spreadable cheese. This is great for eggs in the morning. What I do is I will add a tiny little bit, maybe 5 grams into my scrambled eggs as I'm making them, just to make it a little bit more appetizing alongside some seasoning, as well as maybe spreading 10 to 20 grams on the actual toast that I have it with, just so that it adds a bit of flavour, a little bit of dynamic. It does really taste good. The macros on this are 1.5 grams of fat, 1 gram of carbs, and 4.3 grams of protein, which is damn good. And it beats out pretty much all of the light cheese alternatives. Dairy Leaf, for example, these are just the light cheese slices. 2 grams of fat, 2 grams of carbs, 4 grams of protein. It's not quite as good. And although this is a bit more expensive, it's worth it just because it's a bit more macro friendly. Now, every single bodybuilder staple, we've got the Walden Farms. We've got the caramel one here. We do also have the chocolate. I don't use these as much as I thought I would. Oats and cream of rice to me, never really appealing. I can always find a better option that I prefer, and I will have them more and more as prep goes on, as the meal restrictions are added in. They are really great though for doing things like sweetening up a coffee, adding a little bit into the oatmeal or cream of rice, having a bit on sort of low calorie ice cream, which, speaking of which, is the next one. So next up, we've got low-calorie ice cream. This one, for example, is just a local shop co-op. Say local shop, they're a national supermarket. But they do a really good cookie dough. 352 calories for the whole tub. Then Euphoria, Ben & Jerry's stuff, that, by the looks of it, I mean, to be honest, the flavours are pretty crap anyway, but the calorie difference isn't really that much with that. Per fifth of the tub, 2 grams of fat, 10 grams of carbs, and 4 grams of protein. You could technically sub out a whole meal with this, but I wouldn't recommend it. My personal favourite find, I can't believe that this exists. It's just amazing. Warburton's, we've got the protein bagel fins there. 160 calories per fin, 8 grams of protein, 3 grams of fat, and 23.5 grams of carbs. Good amount of fibre, 3 grams of fibre. I usually have 2 of these, so that's sort of, 46 grams of carbs, 6 grams of fat, and about 17 grams of protein. There's nothing wrong with bread, but there will come times, like for example on low days, where maybe I could only have 2 slices of bread, but I can have 2 of those. It's a really good alternative just to add a bit of volume, and also they are tasty as hell. Last, we have the protein crisps. These I have tried the UFit ones, but they're really, really good, I'll be honest. They taste good. Most of the time they use lower quality proteins, which are less digestible, so actually it doesn't really matter that it's got protein in it, but generally speaking they've got reduced amounts of fats and carbs as well. Even if the protein source isn't that great, at least it's not going to be a major contributor or impactor on your other stuff. I wouldn't eat crisps during prep just because the calorie sacrifice is too high, but they are a great alternative. Alongside pork scratchings, if you're in the UK, get yourself some pork scratchings. They are macro friendly and beautiful. Okay, I lied. There's one final one. Bacon medallions. You cannot beat bacon medallions. Prove me wrong. Sorry. It's bacon. Doesn't have the little crispy bit of fat. But honestly, throw this into your morning meals. You can still have a bacon and egg sandwich. It's a lifesaver. Tip number 3. We're going to talk about the divine nectar. No, we're not talking about Conor Murphy's divine nectar here. Please, this is not that kind of channel, guys.
Is eating his own turds. He is munching on his own shit.
Coffee is possibly the most socially accepted and relied upon drug that exists. Everyone in the world, no matter who you are, knows what coffee is. And we rely on it far too much. Now, coffee is a great thing, right? It's one of the best forms of caffeine that you can actually get, and your body processes it differently. This is scientifically proven, and it's going to be beneficial over taking something like caffeine tablets in order to get that energy boost. But the type of coffee matters, okay? If you buy freeze-dried, the granules that you get, even the Nescafe Gold or whatever, the posher stuff, you're going to have a coffee, if you're going to have it black, which is going to taste like poop. Now, if you get the powdered stuff, like the barista style instant, let's just call that polished poop for now, right? It's better, but it's nowhere near optimal. What you need in your life to save you from the horrible poop glasses that you're chugging down on a daily basis,
Eating his own turd,
is the good old-fashioned Italian espresso. Welcome back to the Anabolic Kitchen. This is what you want to get. Something that's cheap, that provides you just with good quality coffee and does all the basic stuff. This is from Bonson Kitchen. Got a feeling it's not British. This is an espresso machine. This is fairly standard. It does sort of a double shot of espresso. It's also got a milk frother here on the side, so you can just pull that out, switch it on with the click of a button, load it with water at the back. Your filter, your steel filter. You load that with powdered espresso grind coffee. This is really, really important, right? The best thing that you can do is grind it yourself fresh. But to be honest, for convenience, I can't be bothered. And people are telling me that you can't get the cheap blade grinders, you need like a £200 grinder. We're buying it pre-packaged. So we've got the Coffee Mod coffee from the UK. Now this is a recommendation based off Josh Bridgman on Instagram, coach of course. Can I plug Josh any more times on my channel? But we've got 3 different blends here, okay? All in 100 gram samples. They're all roasted within the last 2 weeks, so they're pretty much roasted to order. Really, really good. There's some really strong flavours there, and the difference of an espresso, it forms a natural crema. So what this is, it's the creamy bit that sits on top of the espresso, and that helps to make it more flavourful. No extra calories, but extra indulgence. So I'm going to walk you through the process. We've got our Coffee Mod which one's this? Costa Rica blend. Okay, so I mainly use this in the mornings. I'm just going to do a small amount just to demonstrate. Okay, you'd usually do this with way more. It's late, so I'm not going to load myself up on caffeine. So you just scoop it out, then press it down on that side so it forms a fairly solid puck there. Okay, then you put it onto the machine like that, give it a twist into position, put your espresso cup underneath, and then press the button. So as you can see, got a lovely espresso, and honestly, worth every penny. Tip number 4, and we're talking eating less. Should be a given on a prep or diet, right? What I mean is taking calories from your planned meals throughout the day and using them in between meals. Now, this isn't just for snacks. I'm talking more about just simply trying to sustain yourself from meal to meal. If you were to take, say, I don't know, 3 grams of protein from every single meal of your day, say you eat 5 meals per day, that's 15 grams of protein. You're probably not going to miss that tiny little, millimeter wide bit of chicken. What you are going to then be able to do is have 15 grams of EAAs to spread throughout the day. Sometimes it's simply the fact that I know that my last meal is maybe going to be a bit early because I get hungry, so I'll make up a more condensed EAA shake between last meal and bed. This is simply so that I'm not going to bed hungry and able to sleep a bit better. That's pure protein, so it's definitely macro friendly, and it's also quite tasty. I have the cola version from Bulk Powders, and honestly, just slipping this in between meal 2 and 3, last meal in bed, it's been a lifesaver for me. Tip number 5, we're going to talk positive distractions. So I'm a procrastinator at heart, right? I'm a master procrastinator, not a masturbator. When you're dieting, you'll generally find yourself finding things to do. I've been terrible for it. I don't stop. I don't sit down until like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I cook everything for both myself and my partner anyway. But I've been finding any excuse to be in the kitchen, cleaning, going around the house, doing whatever it is. At that time, you don't necessarily need to always commit it to stuff around the house or lifestyle stuff. You can use it to work on you, and you absolutely should be. Distractions are important for all of us when we're in this stage, right? Just to distract ourselves from hunger, boredom, fatigue, the existential crisis of how insignificant you are in the grand scale of the universe, and the fact that your family will never approve of your life choices. That's just me. Using this time can positively impact your life though, but it can't make your parents love you. So obviously I create content. Each video takes about an hour to film. I'm including a bit of the planning time in there, right? I can usually write a script or something for a video if there's no research involved in about half an hour. But on top of that research and filming, I've also got editing, which takes between 2 and 4 hours. It can take even longer. It really depends on how my life's set up. If I can sit down and just edit a video, it can take me as little as 2. If I have no time throughout the week, it might take me all week just to do one video, which is what happened last week, by the way. Publishing, thumbnails, all that kind of stuff takes about an extra 30 to 45 minutes. So we're talking 5.5 hours there. Believe me when I say when you're knee deep in editing or you're doing something that you're really passionate about, it's about you, you're going to get lost in that and you're going to forget the fact that food exists. Unless you make food content, then you're screwed. Whether it's a hobby, socializing, or whatever it is, find something which positively impacts your life and positively impacts your time. Drop a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next one.